Welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guest is Larry Hebert, a councillor with the City of Thunder Bay. Welcome back, Larry.
Thank you, Steve. Pleasure to be here.
So, Larry, you've got a couple of things that are really near and dear to your heart, and we were sharing a little bit earlier around health and safety.
Yep.
And now, is that occupational health and safety? Is
Yes.
that really kind of where you're thinking?
Yep. And certainly I've been involved. We have a big Forum North here in Thunder Bay. It's one of the regional conferences held in the province. We're entering our 35th year this year in November. It's held the first Tuesday and Wednesday of November each year. And I've been kind of the keeper. I brought my Forum North flag so people can see it. And it's kind of tattered, so I'll have to get a new flag pretty soon. But one of the big symbols when somebody dies, unfortunately, is people put their flags at half-staff. And so I do that when anybody in Northwest Ontario dies. It's on my desk. I put my flag at half-mast.
In terms of on the job?
On the job, yeah.
On the job death.
And of course, these days, most of the deaths are in transportation because people don't think of that as a workplace, but the cab of a truck, when a transport truck driver is killed, that's his workplace. An airplane, we talked about that, and the accident in up in Adawaska where there was 2 paramedics and 2 pilots killed in an orange. That's 4 workplace deaths. Mm-hmm. So more in transportation. Industry's getting better, but there's still some, and 1 is too many. So since 97, when I started doing this, it's never stayed up the whole year, unfortunately, which is interesting because when I started doing this, when I was the president of the Electric Utilities Association of Ontario, I did this with USA on there, not Forum North, and I challenged the membership to go through the year without a workplace death in the province, and we did. So I think you can do it 1 year, you can do it more, and then you start reducing on the accidents as well. And the industry has done well. I mean, they have a very good record. Ontario Hydro does, or Hydro One, I guess OPG now, and Hydro One. And some of the local places like Resolute, T-Baytel, and others do a good job in terms of their health and safety programs. But it's always a tough challenge. And today, maybe reducing accidents, but more occupational diseases and things like that from some of the chemicals people are dealing with. And those are long-term effects and can kill you just the same as an instant accident. So it's really important to me, and it's always been a passion, so I have my flag.
Excellent. So Forum North is an annual conference.
Yes.
That happens just focused on occupational health and safety, is it?
Yes.
And do they have their own kind of website? People can
Yes.
look and find out a little bit more information?
Yes, they can. Yeah.
And so what got you motivated to take on that issue of occupational health and safety?
Well, I thought as a CEO, manager of a utility, and where it's a dangerous product we're dealing with.
Yeah, electricity.
That's right. You don't get too many second chances sometimes. So anyway, I thought it was important. I thought it was important to have a CEO at Forum North. So this is my 34th year. I missed the first one, and I've been at them ever since, and I've been on the planning committee for 33 years because I think it's important for the CEO to be demonstrating his leadership and commitment to health and safety. And I've been on a couple of provincial panels as well for CEO leadership in the health and safety areas. So.
And have you seen that role modeling picked up by other CEOs? What's the experience there?
Yeah, we don't have any other CEOs on the planning committee, but we now have a Forum North CEO breakfast, and we get a pretty good turnout. And so that's good because you can see that there is a commitment there. And last year's topic was mental health, which is a big one these days, and lots of interest. And we did a little survey and feedback. It's the first time we tried that format, but it worked out well. And we've had speakers from the Chilean mine disaster, which is a really fascinating. And then the other one, which is good because I like the product as well, Chapman's Ice Cream, and how they did and their health and safety. And now I see the guy who was here. He's on some of the ads they're showing. But I do like Chapman's Ice Cream too, so a little biased probably.
So, from your background in personnel and as CEO, you just mentioned that issue of mental health.
Yeah.
So, what can companies do to try to prevent problems with mental health within their employers?
Well, I think a lot of it's education, so people get to recognize the signs of somebody that's starting to have issues or maybe well into issues. Like today, post-traumatic stress syndrome or disorder is a big issue. Like some of the things these people face, I think, probably the most prevalent is in the emergency services, fire, police, and EMS. I mean, they see some horrifying things, and that's got to really stick with you sometimes. I don't think you can just turn off your brain and forget about it when you leave the job. So it's important to know those things and teach the workers. If your fellow workers having these issues, or maybe you see them getting angrier, every day, or quick to anger, maybe those are signs. You maybe talk to them or get somebody to say, hey, maybe you should go see a counselor, or can we help you get you there, or maybe take you there. And so I think education, recognizing signs with staff are the best thing to do.
And in a way, I think I've seen in the workplaces sometimes where a person is exhibiting inappropriate behavior.
Yes.
Let's call it. They kind of just get pushed into the corner, so to speak, because no one really wants to deal with it. No one's really sure what to do or how to do it. And they get isolated, and eventually, oftentimes, they're out the door.
Yeah.
So there are proactive approaches, say that.
Certainly, and you're right. They do get pushed aside, and either that even makes them worse because their inappropriate behavior just, they're shunning me, they won't want to talk to me, and everybody's afraid to go talk because they don't want to say the wrong thing, and that's probably the wrong thing too. Like, people don't mind, I think, in general. There's obviously the odd person that does mind being confronted in a very, positive way and saying, maybe you should get some help. And so I don't think we should push them, but I think you're right, that happens way too much.
And it's the stigma, seems like, that really goes with mental illness.
Yeah.
That leaves a lot of us just uncertain what to do or how to do it.
Yeah, because if I break my ankle, you can see that. But you can't see mental illness. You can see some of the behaviors that may be, coming out because there's a problem. But it's important to recognize that and get the people help.
And in a way, I think, as you already mentioned, like with hydro, everyone knows it's a really high-risk job.
Yeah.
And so safety becomes really a natural component. It's right there, it's right in front of you, and you can kind of develop procedures on how to deal with it.
Yeah.
But that area that's not so clear, and our mental health is certainly, it's not real clear to me lots of times.
All right,
It becomes way more of a challenge, I think.
Yes, it does.
And are you seeing more companies moving into some kind of policy or practice that is dealing with these issues?
Yes, we had a couple of presentations at the CEO breakfast, one from Richardson's Elevator and the program they do and what they're doing. And we had some information from WSPS about that as well, and from other companies in the province. We had one of the other companies, and I can't think of their name right now, but they did what they do, and they're really being proactive, which is good to hear. More and more companies, because people are finally recognizing it. I mean, there's enough ads on TV. We have Howie Mandel on there saying, mental illness is not a bad thing. You got to deal with it. And Howie says, I had my issues, and I mean, he was afraid for a long time to shake anybody's hand because he thought he was going to get a disease. And so, I think he's overcoming those kind of things, but he's not afraid to admit it. And when people see people like that in role models and saying, don't be afraid, get some help. I mean, I think that's making, and companies are recognizing that too. It's to their benefit. I mean, it costs a lot of money to train an employee, and you want them for as long as you can in terms of their health, both physically and mentally.
Really good points, Larry. We need to take a short break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.